What's going on, guys? It's Colin here for NextGenTactics, and because many of you have sent me messages asking for it, I figured I'd bring you another Back to Basics video where I talk about some tips for newer players to Bad Company 2. And a lot of you have been picking up the game recently because of the hype around Battlefield 3 on YouTube and want to check out the game and see what it's all about. And for that, I commend you. I hope that you're enjoying your time on the game so far, and I'll do what I can to provide some beginner tips. And this is kind of going to be sort of like an FAQ video. I'm going to talk about some of the top themes that people address in messages that they send to me. And so if you're a veteran Battlefield player, you know, whether you're a level 50 Bad Company 2 player or if you've played the whole series, I encourage you to definitely post your 2 cents worth in the comments section, because, you know, I've got over 400 hours logged on the game now between Xbox and PS3, and I still find new tips to help me improve every day. So, you know, for someone just picking the game up, it certainly can be a daunting task. It has a bit steeper learning curve than other games that I've played. So, again, it can be challenging, it can be frustrating. But what I want to first talk about in this game is just that, you know, if you want to improve your game, then the best way to do that quickly is to move. And you have to learn how to move around the maps, but you know, you might rack up your KD and you might help out your stats by sitting on a rooftop shooting people, but at the end of the day, it's not going to really improve your skill level a whole lot. So, you know, if you want to pad your stats, then that's fine, but if you actually want to improve as a player, then sitting in a window waiting for someone to run by just you know, it's not going to get you there. And I find that it makes the game less entertaining, and sometimes there are periods in the game where it's best to sit back and hold down a house and play defensively. There are other times when it's best to move around, and I like to try and balance that, and it's tough to figure out when should I move and when should I not move. And clearly here I shouldn't have moved around the house in that direction, but you know, I kind of disobeyed one of my cardinal rules, which is to try and minimize the number of sides I have exposed to enemy fire, and I'm going to break that again. I'm going to try and stop here to shoot this guy across the way, and I am vulnerable from all sides. Now, my back was to out of bounds, so I was kind of open right and left and front. I got shot in the right where I wasn't looking. So, you know, what I like to do is try and stay to the edge of the map. If I'm going to venture into the middle, I want to try and take cover in a house. Right here, this roof guy, he was originally noob tubing off a roof, and then he was RPGing off a roof, and he pissed me off. So, my goal in this game was to beat him down. That was my goal. I almost rage quit when I got hit with that RPG, and I decided to stick with it and see what I could do. But you know, a lot of newer players, you can tell like, there's a lot of lower ranks in the game right now, and you can kind of tell the difference between some of the level 50s that have started new accounts so that they can keep playing and keep unlocking stuff, and players who have legitimately just picked it up new. Well, you can't always tell the difference, because I mean, there are level 50s who have just played the game for a ton of time and still aren't exceptionally good at the game, but you can tell some moves that come from inexperience. So I'm going to talk about some of those, and I want to talk about weapon selection. And people will ask me, you know, what's your favorite gun? What gun should I try? And there's no easy answer for that question, to be honest. Right now I'm running the 9A91 Automat, which is the default weapon in the engineer kit, and basically as soon as I unlocked the next gun in the kit, I started using that, and I never really paid much attention to this. And it's actually a really good gun if you use it properly. And the thing is, all the guns in the game, or most of the guns in the game anyway, have some strengths that make them really powerful as long as you play to that weapon's strong points and you stay away from the areas where it's weaker. And I think that there's a ton of balance in this game, and you have to play an awful lot with the guns in order to figure out which one works best for you. I can give you some ideas as to which guns would be the most versatile in each kit in order to sort of play around, but when it comes right down to fine-tuning your game and figuring out the weapon that's the best for you in all situations, I can't give you that answer. So I will talk a little bit more later in this commentary about my favorite gun for each kit. But first, you know, I just want to talk about the fact that I am kind of just moving around the map. I'm hunting for kills. I want to go find the kills. I don't want them to come to me. Right there, I am actually using sound to my advantage. So if you ever kill an enemy and you hear someone holler out, man down, then there's another enemy close by. Now right there, I didn't want to go through the door in case they were communicating and were squad mates, so I looped around to look for that medic in the window. I did expose myself to getting shot in the back from around where the tank spawns, but you know, I figured I was more vulnerable going right into the building if somebody knew I was coming. So, you know, just kind of loop around. Don't rush in there head on if you spot a situation where you know where the enemies are. And you'll see that I take it easy and I don't move as much when I don't know where the enemies are. When I'm running from place to place, typically I know that there's enemies in that area. Now I do have a gaming headset. I run Turtle Beach X41s, and because of the exceptional sound design in Battlefield, I can actually pinpoint where combat's taking place on the map. So I'm not really listening for footsteps, although those are helpful, but I'm listening for gunfire, and it can give you a really good general direction as to where some fighting's taking place. And right there, I get a double because I hear that gunfire around the corner. So I think in Battlefield you can probably hear that through your TV speakers, but you're not going to get the same directional benefit as you would with a headset or maybe surround sound. So, even an inexpensive gaming headset can add a lot, even to a game like Battlefield, where it is a noisy game. I'm not gonna lie. The sound design is great, but sometimes there is a lot of noise, and that's fine. It just makes you have to kind of train your ear a little bit more to figure out what's going on. But back to what I was talking about. Also, a lot of people ask, what sensitivity do I play on? And, what should I try for sensitivity? And right now, I've settled on a sensitivity of around 60%, and that's the same whether I'm on Xbox or PS3. And I found that that's a good balance of being able to maneuver in close quarters and turn reasonably quickly, but also be able to shoot long ranges. And I tend to try and favor weapons or kit selections that give me a good balance of close quarters and long range ability. So I'm never really running the gun that's the best in any situation, but I look for versatility. And so I tend to prefer guns like the UMP, which is accurate enough to do well at long range. It actually excels in close range. It has excellent hip fire. But for versatile weapons in the engineer kit, I always liked the XM8 Compact, and the PP2000 with a high rate of fire is excellent close up. But because it's so accurate, it also tends to get more rounds on target at longer ranges. So you really have to play with each weapon for hundreds of kills before you get the feel of it. And right now, as it stands, I feel that I can effectively use almost all of the weapons in the engineer kit, except for the Uzi and the AK-74U. I really haven't found my range with those guns, and that's a struggle. Now, in the assault kit, depending on how you like to play, if you're a very aggressive player that likes to always be close to the action, then you might want to try out something like the AUG, the AUG, or maybe the F2000, which has a really high rate of fire. And both of those guns can be effective at long range. They have a very high rate of fire, but a lower damage output, but at the end of the day, they're also quite accurate. So, if you burst fire correctly, then you can do quite well. And that's a tip with all weapons. You have to figure out what's the burst fire pattern like? When do I burst? When can I go full auto? How many bullets should I let go at once? And it's kind of different for every gun. And as a rule of thumb, I never try and go more than 2 or 3 rounds on a burst. With like something like the PP2000, I might even burst 3 or 4 at long range. But with the assault rifles, I usually keep it to 2 at longer ranges. With the M16, obviously, that's a 3-round burst by default. But I think you really need to try and find what works best for you. And as far as sensitivity, the same holds true. If you prefer to stay back a little bit and play a longer range support role, then you might be better off with an M16 or an AN94 and maybe sensitivity tuned down to around 30%. If you're always going to be in close quarters, or you're running a shotgun and you need the ability to turn quickly for that one shot, you might want to crank the sensitivity up higher to 75 or 100%. I found that I did that and had some success close range, but then I couldn't shoot the broadside of a barn at longer ranges with that higher sensitivity. And there is no right answer. That's one thing that I do like about this game. It can be tweaked to fit your style. Now, when I was playing Black Ops, I found that like the FAMAS and the AUG, those were like the best weapons regardless of what range I was at. They were deadly accurate close range. They were good in close quarters. They were almost able to outperform SMGs. So for that reason, like there just wasn't a lot of variety. In this game, there's a ton of variety, and there is no easy answer. You have to play with all the weapons as you rank up. I'd almost recommend that it's also a strategy for ranking up quickly, but play each gun for the first 100 kills at least, and that gets you 1 gold star on the weapon. It maximizes your experience points because you get 500 for the bronze, 1,000 for the silver, and 5,000 for that gold. So it'll help you rank up quickly, but it also gives you a pretty good feel for that gun and how you do with it. And as you get more experience in the game, you may want to go back and revisit some weapons that didn't work for you otherwise. And I know that I'm not really giving any good, solid advice here, but I can only really tell you what works best for me and for my playstyle. And I like to play aggressively. I'm not the best at all ranges, but I feel that I'm pretty versatile. And you know, a golf analogy works pretty well here. When you first start playing golf, it's not that hard. Well, I mean, it's far easier to break 100 than it is to break 90. So the effort you have to put in to go from like 120 down to under 100, that's one thing. The effort it takes then to break 90, that's something altogether. And then when you get to trying to break 80, then you know there's a ton of work that has to go into that. And I found Battlefield to be the same. I feel that I've gotten to the point where I've broken 100, I've broken 90. I'm not a player that's consistently breaking 80. So, you know, I can give some tips as to how to get from beginner status to maybe shooting in the 80s, but I'm still working on being a consistent player that's shooting in the 70s. I guess that's the best way to look at it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found at least one nugget of information that wasn't useless to you. And that's all for now, guys. Cheers. We'll talk soon.
Hey guys, we now have our own website. Actually, we've always had our own website, but why not follow us on there? There you'll find all our videos conveniently sorted into playlists by game, as well as videos from many other directors that are part of our NGT network.